never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bait and I make plans for 7:45 and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, we will. We will indeed remember them, never to be forgotten, for everything that they did, everything that they have done for us, sacrificed for us, and continue to sacrifice and serve. I'll tell you, it's a tough day for some. For those who watched a lot of the ceremonies, you know, I tip a hat to you for those who did, for those who are wearing the poppy. I'm going to make a point of trying to find one that has a magnetic backing. I've been asking some CFNers what their thoughts are on, you know, the whole etiquette in regards to the poppy, because it's something that I truly want to wear all the time. And I was told by some folks that were a part of legions and whatever, and there was only a small handful that said, you know, Scottie, it's disrespectful to wear it, you know, outside a certain parameter of date from November 11th. Well, I haven't been hearing that much lately, and I will say this, you know, if there's anything that we can truly wear anywhere or present and show support of, is the poppy. I know some folks wear the ribbon as a means of showing support, but I don't know, man. There's something about this poppy that just, it hits home. And for, as I said, for everyone who believes like I do, you know, maybe we'll make this the year that we wear the poppy all year round and show our support for, you know, our fallen Canadians and those who are still with us that fought for our freedoms. And, you know, we get the luxury of sitting on here and doing these lives and, you know, enjoying fishing and a variety of different lakes and rivers across this country. And we do so because people put their own needs and thought of others and thought of the future. And I'll tell you, as I said, it is just remarkable to think of what a young Canadian was thinking at the time that this was all going down. And I'll talk a little bit more about it with Big Jim, who's coming up next. But as I said, yeah, we will never forget. And I don't know what it is, man, but I just, as a true Canadian, I want to show my support in ways that it encompasses and speaks to other Canadians. And you know, there was a post that was made about Don Cherry, some of the things that he said about people that weren't wearing them. And I think it was a call to order that was taken in the wrong way because of who he was referring to and how he was referring to them. And it's a shame because the message got lost. Well, you know, I don't care who you are, where you've come from. If you're Canadian, buy a poppy and wear it, and show your support for those who have given us what we have today and will continue to enjoy as the years go on. But anyway, that is my sermon for Remembrance Day. I hope everybody enjoyed what is supposed to be a reminder of how things were and how badly things could have been had we not have won and folks had not made that sacrifice, to the families that lost young ones. And I mean, the list just, it's endless. But I will say this, I am proud to be a Canadian because of what it represented back then. Certainly things that are going on in our country right now, I'm not exactly super proud of, but I am a proud Canadian of the way it was. And I'd really love for it to get back to that. But I will say fishing allows us to, because it's the grassroots. It brings us back to when we were kids. It brings us back to a time when, everything sort of made sense. And yeah, I wish we could get back there. I'll tell you, because things these days just aren't making sense. Anyway, I could go on. What's going on, Steve? Nice to see you, my friend. As always, I want to thank you for all of your edits and all you do to help promote and further our message and our mission statement. Without you, dude, I don't know where we'd be. Steve, how you doing, my friend? Shane's in the house. Shane, who else was? Yeah, that's a good point. Who does? Tony's in the house. How you doing, Tony? Richard Dunlop, as always, my friend, you certainly do your best to pump our tires and share our message. Again, we would be lost without you. It is an honor to come on here every Monday and share with you folks, speak to you folks, talk about fishing and help promote what you guys are doing and what you love. And I'll tell you, I love fishing. And I love true Canadians that are true to the heart and are currently wearing a poppy right now to show their respect for our soldiers. And it can be an amazing thing. So again, I'm going to make a point of wearing it throughout the course of 2025, simply for the fact that I will never not support our troops and what was done in the past to provide us this incredible freedom that we get to enjoy. So join me if you will. I have just a couple of announcements before we get to Jim. One of which, of course, with our good man Richard here. Of course, he would be perplexed and probably very upset if I didn't mention, but I will say DJ caught a wonderful walleye that we're going to show on Wednesday. We're going to feature that because he was wearing this hoodie. And if you like to look like our good buddy Richard here or DJ and show your support for what we're doing and everything that CFN represents, by all means, please reach out to Richard Dunlop. Some beautiful, beautiful stuff. And of course, big congratulations to our good buddy Mark Beeler, who caught this gem. What a beautiful muskie. What a gorgeous muskie. You want to talk about Monster Monday. It doesn't get any more monster than that. So Mark, congratulations, my friend. Absolutely beautiful fish. Well done. Of course, Horwood Lake Lodge, we have the date set. The price is set. We just want to make sure you guys are set. And please reach out to Warren Endorse if you're looking to join us. As I said, it is going to be August 10th to the 16th. The price includes your meals, a boat rental, shared accommodations, fuel, bait, and of course, a nightly fish fry. So everything that you want to enjoy up north and in the northern country when it comes to walleye fishing, smallmouth fishing, and even a nice pike like Richard's holding up, please don't hesitate. Get a hold of Warren Endorse and get your butt booked in a bed. Of course, we are also going to be making an announcement once we finalize the price with Camp McIntosh. But if you want a great multi-species adventure, this is a great opportunity to catch your personal best. No matter what one of the four species you're looking at, just because of the body of water that you're fishing. It's the lower part of the French River, right where it flows into Georgian Bay. And as you can see, there are some beautiful fish that are caught in the 3 years that we've had the OFC Nation retreat, and we're looking forward to the one next year. So we'll get the date finalized and set up for you, but we'd love to see you at Camp McIntosh as well. It looks like it's going to be a busy year, actually, when it comes to things that we're doing here in CFN. Speaking of busy, the Ultimate Ice Fishing Show is back on November 23rd to the 24th at Sadlin Arena up in Barrie. I think everybody, including Shane and myself, we're all jonesing for some hard water fishing this year. And there's nothing to wet your whistle like getting up and enjoying the Ultimate Ice Fishing Show. And hopefully we'll be able to get Moose and Andy on here next week to talk a little bit more about it, because I think we need to. Also, fishpost.ca. I mentioned it last week. This is a great resource if you are looking for certain odds and ends that are available and for sale. Fishpost.ca is a great resource for that. So I invite you to head over there. And of course, they do have a monthly contest, which Brooklyn won. And I'd like to see some more CFNers win if you so involve yourself and you put yourself in an opportunity to do so. Of course, there's the research workshop that's going on December 9th, and I've already registered. I got my acceptance from Dr. Stephen Cook, so I'm looking forward to participating in this and seeing what this is all about. So I invite you to do the same. All the information is there. We will post it throughout the week, so folks do, if you do want, there's no cost. If you do want to participate and get involved and listen to some of the wonderful things that are going to be presented to us in regards to the fishing out in the eastern part, Carleton, Ottawa, that area. I think it's going to be a must listen. So I invite you guys to register and join the masses that will be watching that. And of course, last but not least, we have our Made in Canada tackle shows. The dates and the venues are confirmed. This is where it's all going to happen. First show is in Chatham. Beautiful Bradley Center. That is Sunday, February 9th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Then we're going to be in Kitchener at Bigamans. It is a beautiful, beautiful venue, and that's the 11th and 12th with all the times. And then, of course, last but not least, we're going to be in Niagara at the West Niagara Agriculture Society, April 25th to the 26th. Again, the Made in Canada tackle show. If you want to register, if you want to know more, please go to the website and get yourself registered or ask some questions if you have any. Outside of that, I think I'm done with everything that I need to announce. If I have forgotten something, my sincerest apologies. But now it is all about Big Jim.
When he was born, he tried to reel in the umbilical cord. Bass named him as their personal best. His power pole came with a stripper. Forward-facing sonar uses him to find fish. Chuck Norris is his co-angler. He is the most interesting fisherman in the world. Stay fishing, my friends.
Jim, I can't think of anyone better to talk about it, the importance of this day and what it means to free Canadians everywhere. But Remembrance Day comes around once a year, and I look forward to celebrating it. I look forward to all of the venues and ceremonies that we get to see. But
yeah, we had it at the Legion right next door here to us.
That's so awesome.
I had to go out and chase the guys out of my laneway from parking, these old guys. I said, come on. I said, there's only 4 of you.
Jim, as I said, like over the years, obviously Remembrance Day is something that maybe has been fading. We see, news stories come on that, some of our legions are in trouble because of the number of members that they have lost. Yep. They're going to have to shut down because things are starting to cost too much, and it just doesn't make sense. I hate to hear that, but it is what's happening, and I don't know how to fix it. But I will say we can't let this fall apart. We can't let this fade into the abyss. It is something that we need to hang on to, and the importance of it, Jim, I'm sure you can talk about.
You summed it up best at the end when you said it was something you would never stop supporting. Yeah, and you know that I have a pile of friends.
Yeah,
in the armed forces, like guys that have gone and done it, big time. And it's I tell you, it's a different world when you've done something like that. I sent a message phone message to all my friends this morning that are in the armed forces, thanking them. And every one of them came back. One of them came back, we talked on the phone, and he actually got emotional.
Yeah.
He thanked me so much for the message.
Yeah.
And I'm going to read you a couple of things that I got back from people.
Right on.
This is from a really good buddy of mine. I'm not going to get into names with anybody, but I sent him a note this morning, text, and I said, I hope this day brings you some peace, my friend. Thank you so much for everything, and a bunch of hearts.
Yeah.
He's one of the lucky ones that had tremendous issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like, tremendous issues. Remember I told you about the time, the hugging, and him telling me that he wanted to kick a door in and shoot somebody in the face?
Yeah.
Yeah, and when it affects you like that, and he came back to me and he said, "Thank you so much, Big." And he put praying hands up and he said, "The only thing is that I have to bring sadness that everything we did in Afghanistan, all the good we accomplished is all gone."
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, you almost gave your life. So many of your buddies are dead. And now it's almost for nothing,
Yeah.
It's the way that they feel it's just back right up on them again. I had a couple others here. I had one guy come back to me and he says to me, "Hey," he says, "I never really got a gun. I used to run around yelling bang." And this is, God bless him. You know what I mean?
Was right, 100%.
It brought tears to my eyes when he said that to me. I was on the phone. I had tears running down my cheeks. And I said, I don't care. You didn't know that when you signed up.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. And then the best one is my buddy T. And he moved pretty close to me. We've just become like this. There's not a day goes by that we don't text and talk, eh?
That's awesome.
And this was last year. I sent him this message and I said, "Hey T," I said, "just wanted to take a second on your day to thank you for your service, sir." And I said, "I'm absolutely proud to call you a friend." And he answered me back. He says, "Thanks so much, Big. I appreciate that immensely." He says, "I do my job because of beautiful Canadians like you and Tammy."
Amen. Amen.
I have that saved on my phone. That will never go away from my life.
That's awesome.
Those statements. And, there's a couple of other things that I've gotten into my mind. Like the funniest thing in the world is, I said to one of the guys one day, I was with three or four of them, and they were going for cocktails at the Legion after. And I don't drink anymore. I haven't. So I went in and I was with them or whatever. And I had my poppy. And I spun around and I knocked it off. So I'm trying to put it back on. So Travis comes to me and he says to me, "Here, I'll put it back on for you." So he puts it back on and he's not trying to put it back on. These guys have all had like 8 tall boys. And he doesn't drink anymore.
Oh boy.
This is third day. Yeah. He's at it today again. I was talking to him. But he just takes the pin and he says, "This is how it goes in." And he just sticks it straight about this far into me, and I pulled it out.
Ouch.
I don't believe this. This happens to me every year. I said, I moved my shirt that was all blood. They open trying to put a poppy on me. We just laugh. It's just so funny,
Well, Jim, on that note, like I've asked quite a few folks that are part of Legions that are maybe related to vets, no vets, just to understand, how it is disrespectful to wear a poppy outside of, the days of Remembrance Day. Like, wearing it in July is disrespectful. And I never really got a good enough answer to justify not wearing it. So I think, as I said, 2025 is going to be the year that I now start to wear it on the regular. And
Scottie, what does everybody always say? And I posted last year about it. Why just one day? I said that again today on the post. Yep. Why we only look at this for one day? Amen. And I've asked this year again 4 or 5 of the guys that I know when I'm talking to them. I said, "Hey, the way you see all these people on Facebook and all these memes about don't put up your Christmas decorations before Remembrance Day? Not one of them has agreed with that. In fact, one of them got quite chirpy about it, not to me, but just about the whole thing. He said, "What the hell do you think I got shot at for?" He said, "I got shot at for you to do whatever the hell you want."
Yeah.
And there's no conflict there.
Yeah.
They don't see it that way. And I mean, these are guys, like I said, one of them was over there for close to 4 years total time, I mean, like they have done this, and it's just.
It is, as I said, it going forward, 2025 and years to come. As long as I'm on this earth, I will be wearing this proudly. Simply, as I said, to remember those and the Canada that was. It has definitely changed. It's not the same, but I think it's not. it's not justifiable for us to forget about it either, and
And
allow.
so many of the old guys are gone.
Yeah,
Like I was watching it from the War Memorial in Ottawa today. I watched it on the news at 6 o'clock, and they got a row of old dudes in wheelchairs. They're covered up in blankets. They don't know. I swear, half of them. It was so sad, Scotty. They
Yeah.
don't know what's going on anymore. They're just so old. They
Mhm.
come out there. They've got medals hanging on them. Like these guys were the real thing, and you look at them now, and they've just gotten old. That's the only thing that's wrong right now, is that they got old, and they're gonna go away. They're gonna go away. They're not gonna be there. I watched it. I got up. I was sitting out there. I mean, I had a half a rotisserie chicken. I left the plate sitting there. I had to go. I just walked out of the room. It bugged me that much.
I bet.
Bugged me that much. Just really, really gets to me when I see these guys get old like that.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of them had the pole on their wheelchair with the IV. Yeah, these guys are like 85, 95 years old, and and you think of what the beasts we always joke that these guys were. I think one of the things that sums it up best is when there's a thing from the War Memorial, and I believe it's in Washington, in the States, and they show this old guy with a cane standing, and he's all hunched over, and he's looking at the wall, and his shadow is that of like some guy dressed up like a SEAL with the gun all ready to go, and that's him seeing himself.
Wow.
Although when I see that, I got goosebumps just talking.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing. Oof.
I do that at the gym, and God knows I was never in a war. I go like, I see it hanging down at the bottom. No, but they need. I thank them all the time. I have several of my buddies. I had a guy that was an Ottawa cop there for a while. Luke Monjan. I sent him a note this morning, thanked him for his service, and he came back to me and he said, "Wow, Big Jim, thank him." Like he just thought it was cool, And so many of the guys, Joe up in Petawawa, who used to be Travis's best buddy, and like he's up there. I sent him a note this morning, and I noticed in the message, I scrolled down through the message, a whole bunch of it. I'm looking at all the messages. As I talk to him maybe twice a year, but there's three or 4 years of records of messages there, and every Remembrance Day there's a message, and it's always different from me, and it's just really cool.
That's awesome. Well, on that same note of remembering, there was a gentleman that is just recently announced his retirement, and his first name is Clark. His second name, I don't want to ruin it, but I believe it's Wenlant.
Yes.
Okay. So in his retirement video, he makes a very, very important acknowledgement to those who have led the way, those who have paved the way for all of us, and not only those who compete at the MLF or Bass or the Elite or any of that. It's the importance of those who have come before us, and remembering those and respecting those who have come before us, I think is the biggest message that is in the video. And I want to share this now because I think this really hits home.
He's a great guy.
I would tell people today, if you're going to get into pro bass fishing, learn the history of professional bass fishing. I mean, because what we need today is respect for why we're out there, respect for doing this for a living. Why are we even able to do it? Because Ray Scott and the fishermen from the past paved the way so that we could come forward and do it. And so I think we owe them a lot. And if you don't even know who they are, or don't know about them, or don't know about the struggles, then I think you're going to have a hard time making this a true career.
It's a great message.
Yeah, I saw a thing today on the Angling Buzz page, the Lindners, and they had their message out there, and it's got 2 pictures. You should go and check it out. It's got one on top of the other, and on the top, it has a picture of Ron Lindner sitting in a foxhole or some tunnel or something, with his hand on a machine gun, looking out like this, and that was in the Korean War. And underneath is Al doing the same thing in the Vietnam War, and it was Korea that my dad fought in. and it's
Wow.
he had my dad had the row of medals and everything else too. I know he had. We've talked about this many times, Scottie. About I know that my dad had tremendous issues with PTSD. There's no offense, ors, or buts about it.
Hmm.
He was also a soldier, right? He went out in the morning. They might have come home drunk at night, but he was everything was right. That's my dad right there, and you can see the hardware there.
Wow.
Not that I don't know whether that's even a correct term to use, but
Fully decorated, I will say.
yeah, and he was he was a very, very brave guy. Did a lot of things where when I was a kid in Montreal, he would disappear for 2 weeks. And I know I remember going to the airport in Montreal a few times when I was, like maybe 5, 6 years old. I stuck in my coconut like you wouldn't believe. I remember them once getting them off the plane. I don't know what they got them off the plane for, but there was like hundreds of soldiers there cheering them.
Yeah.
And the stuff I don't know what they did, but it was obviously covert, I think is the word now.
Jeez, man.
It's obviously
I
spooky
can't
stuff.
imagine.
Yeah,
With what we see folks suffering from PTSD now, and I'm not taking anything away from it. All I'm trying to say is I can only imagine what your dad and other folks that came back from these wars, the level of PTSD that they must have been.
yeah. Like I mean, I'm not scared to talk about it, as you know, Scottie. And I have memories being 4 and 5 years old of my father being in drunken rages, picking me by the neck and throwing me off walls. Wow. As a kid, it was funny because one of the guys that I spent a lot of time with, he asked me, he said, Jimmy, did you ever go talk to well, they use the word shrink. Did you ever go talk to a shrink about that? And I said, no. And he said, you probably should, because he said, I bet you deep inside you, there's something there that may bother you that you don't know about that you could get rid of, because they've all dealt with it. And most of them have got rid of a lot of the demons. But I mean, that was the alcohol, not the PTSD. I would assume that did that, and some of the things he did were not nice, but it's what it is.
You talk about PTSD. My grandfather was in 3 wars and was a prisoner of war.
Yeah,
Oof.
that's a scary concept.
Wow. Unreal.
That's a funny thing today. Bob Devine.
Yeah.
He was here today.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he was with me here for about an hour. No, he got here at 12 and he left at 2:30. We just, the office. We just sat and we talked. We hadn't seen each other for a long time. So while I'm talking to him, I got to tell you, it's the funniest thing. While I'm sitting here talking to him, he says to me, a guy's name came up, Kyle Schucher, and he lives in Alabama now.
Okay.
And he says to me, I says, I know him. He lives in Alabama now. He goes, yeah, I know. So I take a picture of him. Oh, here, I'll show you the picture of him sitting here. It's just really funny. I take a picture of him sitting here. Where is he? There he is sitting there. And it was so cool today. Like he's a native guy.
Yeah.
And see his Mohawk shirt on.
Yeah.
I know you can't see it, but see the poppy?
Yeah.
It's so cool because it's on the hoodie, but there's 4 little silver leaves, like feathers.
Oh, okay.
Not leaves, feathers. Silver feathers hanging down. And
Cool.
we never got to talk about it. But when I sent the picture to Kylie, he answered me back. He says to me, "Oh my God, Big Jim, you'll hang out with anybody now. You must be lonely."
Oh, Kyle.
Well, and then before he left, we got this picture here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he said he had to get a picture of that. But yeah, no, he's a character. We had a chat about the native guy's involvement in the war, and then it was so funny. I said to him, "It was funny about half an hour before you got here. I took something and I screenshotted it off my phone so I could add it to my Facebook page because it had slipped my mind, and it was this."
Oh, yes. What a great post. I saw that. You posted that. That was a great post.
Yeah. Because I've had that for a few years now, and I thought it was it was, really, really just, it's true.
And I don't want to get into the politics of it because I don't know enough about it, and I'm not
Me
well
neither.
versed on how things happened back then. But to think, in a lot of cases, the image or perception of what happened to our First Nations when our white forefathers showed up here, and to think, they battled right along with us against the demon that was out there. So again, that is even just as more special in my opinion, that folks that were settled here, that it was their country before we showed up, that they too felt the need to fight for our freedom. So tip of the hat to our First Nations as well for climbing on board and doing what was right. And thankfully they did, because we wouldn't be here if they didn't.
This was posted by a buddy of mine who is a real live American war hero. Like, big time. I'm not going to mention his names. But he said here, he posted this on his page today, and he said, when I served in the Army, my life was in the hands of black, brown, red, yellow, white toned people, and whatever else there is. We were friends, we were combatants, we were battle buddies, and we had each other's six when the hammer slammed the anvil. We trained, we sweated, we bled together. We came together for all parts of the country. We came together from all religions. We were a society into ourselves. We worked as a team, a well-oiled machine. We fought for our brothers and sisters through thick and thin. We protected each other. That was what we did. The only color we saw was the odd green. And, I'm not sure there. He said, would my battle brothers, sisters be willing to copy this and repost? That's one of the things. And he's like a real drop dead American war hero.
Wow.
The medals, bravery beyond. Like
Incredible.
just a person that just, that fight or flight thing.
Yeah.
What's this thing, flight, you talk about?
Yeah.
Like what they are. And I don't know. I just, I'm from a military family, yes and no. I was a service brat, got moved around a little bit in that, but I was the cute little red-haired guy. Oh God, if they could see me now.
Still going on, buddy. And we're thankful of that. And of course, we are thankful so much of your time, and weren't 100% sure if you were going to be able to make it today, but I'll tell you this. I'm so thankful that you did, because we were able to talk about something that I have a hard time just talking about myself.
Yeah, I get emotional about it. I just think, it's you only get to go once, eh?
100%, dude.
And once you're gone, you're gone. But I said to a buddy of mine the other day, he didn't believe me. He's in the Air Force in the States. And I said to him, hey, if you can get me a flight in an F-15, okay, and I can fly 800-900 miles an hour upside down, 100 feet off the ground, I will give up fishing.
Wow.
I will never take another cast for the rest of my life.
Wow.
Yeah. And he said to me, well, he said, I could never get the clearance for the 100 feet off the ground upside down. Although he says, I'm sure someone's done it. Wink, wink. Yeah. And I thought, oh my God, actually on water. But he told me, that was when he explained to me, you have to be close to something. He did a long time ago to visualize the speed. Like, you can fly 1,000 miles an hour and you don't know how fast you're going.
Exactly.
You have to go past something.
Yeah.
And he said at 1,000 miles an hour, you go past a lot of things real fast.
I bet you do.
And he's done it, eh? So it's kind of cool, yeah. But
incredible stuff. Well, Jim, as always, thanks so much for your time. I know you got busy things that you're doing tonight, so thank you for taking time to do this. It
continues, buddy.
I know. We'll be thinking of you, dude. You take care of yourself.
Thanks to anybody out there in the armed forces,
Amen.
Their families, whatever.
Amen. Absolutely.
Oh, I picked myself in the pit.
Jay Barnucz is coming up right after a word from his sponsor.
Want to know the difference between power bait and other soft plastics? Ask the fish. Berkeley scientists have thousands of flavors tested on thousands of fish. Natural, man-made. Every bait that's ever hit the water. No matter the shape, size, or color, power bait is the only one that is scientifically proven. Fish bite and will not let go.
Boom. Man.
There's Jay. How you doing, buddy?
Dude, I was working backstage. I was on this quest to figure out what we're going to talk about. We already know, but this muskie we're going to talk about, Scottie.
Yes, sir.
And I actually found out some cool stuff about IGFA. So we can jump right in.
Before we do this, I have a favor. I have a feeling I know what species of fish this is, but I saw this posted, and I want to say it's a Dolly Varden, but I don't know. It just was very unique. The colors on it are incredible, and I was hoping that you would help me identify what species of trout this is.
Okay, so I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to say, though, it's probably a golden trout is what it is. So in the U.S., how should I say this? So in the U.S., because the U.S. was never covered in glaciers, there's parts of it that never got glaciated like we did, right? The glaciers only went so far south. There's sections of the U.S. that never had glaciers. And so what happened is these fish have actually evolved. A good example is some fish nerds on the call might know this, but in the U.S., there's way more species of darters than there are in Ontario, right? And some of that's because you have darters that live in little valleys. Like in the Appalachians, you can have every valley has a unique strain of a species of darter, okay? Well, in some mountainous areas, trout did this, Scottie. Okay. And so there's actually really cool trout species. A lot of them are related to rainbows and also cutthroats. Like rainbows and cutthroats are very closely related.
Yeah.
And you get into some of these high alpine areas in New Mexico, Colorado, even in Mexico itself, the country of Mexico, you get these cool trout colorations. And there's all kinds of color variants in trout. And genetically, they're unique enough that they're considered separate species, but they're very similar to rainbows in the end.
I will say, and Steve's saying cutthroat. I for whatever reason, I thought it might be a Dolly Varden, but I saw the spots and I'm like, nah, it can't be.
No, so if you look right at the fins are deceiving, but right there, the pectoral fins, there's no white on the edge of the pectorals.
Yes.
So a Dolly Varden,
yes,
and the close cousin, the bull trout, are actually of the genus Savelinus, which is char, brook char, Arctic char, brook trout, lake trout. Dolly Varden and bull trout are all members of the char family. They're not actually trout, and there's some real fish nerds. I'm a fish nerd. I love fish nerds, and I'll tell you that there are fish nerds out there who will say there's no brook trout, they are brook char. There's no bull trout, they are bull char. There's no lake trout, they are lake char, because they're technically a char, not a trout.
Very good. I love it. Corey, you're right, dude. Golden trout, and they get big. Thanks, bud. Appreciate that. That's
what I thought it was, but I'm so cautious of calling things out. It's my nature, dude, of what I do in my job. But I'm gonna say it's a golden trout is my best guess. But some of it would depend on geographically where that fish was caught. There are very similar color variants of a golden trout, and a golden trout is a color variant of a rainbow as well.
Yeah, beautiful fish. Yeah. Absolutely. The colors on it that's what grabbed my attention. And I'm thinking, wait, and he didn't put in the description what it was. So I'm like, what kind of species of trout is that? I've never seen that before.
Yeah, there's some really cool color variants in trout that we don't see in the Great Lakes. But you go out to the Rockies, and then even from the east slope and the west slope of the Rockies, there's some cool color variants in all kinds of the salmonid species out there.
100%. The species of fish that you spoke of when we first came on, of course, is the one and only muskellunge. And I think this is really cool. And I'm so glad you shared this with me, because there seems to be a trend with the IGFA, which you're going to explain as we go forward tonight. But again, not I mean, it wasn't a massive fish, although very, very big, and certainly worthy of taking a measurement to see if it is a record. But as you can see, it's an all tackle length world record for the species, and it was caught on Mill Lac up in Minnesota. Beautiful looking muskie. And the best part about it is it was released, and you're going to take it from there.
Yeah. So if you IGFA is really taking some strides to, it's not, so people have to realize it's not just the biggest fish.
Yeah.
It's the biggest fish in different categories. And so, for example, I don't, it's hard to, I'm not going to show this right here, but I'm looking at the muskellunge category, and this is IGFA has categories for every fish species. Like during Jim's talk, I got into this wormhole of like different species on here, man, and they have like chain pickerel and like yellowtail tuna and like all these things, right? So for muskies, I'll just rhyme off some of the examples here. There's the all tackle record, which is caught from the St. Lawrence, 132 centimeters. Now let's discuss that just for a second. So 132 centimeters, 2 inches, that's not very long, and people are going to be like, well, geez, that's only
doesn't seem like a lot. It's a meter. I mean, it's over a meter, but
it's not a lot. And there's a reason why. And I found this out. Now, I never knew this. I'm going to see if I can share this, Scottie, if it lets me do it. Is it coming up?
Yep.
Okay. And this makes a lot of sense to me why they do this. This is IGFA measurement standards. They don't do total length, Scottie. They don't do tip to tip. They do fork length.
Oh.
Well, think about the muskie's tail. How big you're talking a 50-inch class muskie. Dude, that tail is like half the length of my monitor, man. Like it's probably an 8-inch tail tip to tip. Where's Mike Parker? He'll know this. So Jade, like they'll just jump in here and chime in if they were here. But so you're only measuring, this is their standard, and it makes sense. Remember that call we had a while ago? And I showed that catfish with that freakishly long tail that won that Jay Pierce's catfish derby. Yeah. And if IGFA uses this as a standard, that makes sense to me, because you can't, fork length is measuring to the tip or the center of the tail, whereas total length, which is what I use quite a bit for my work, is tip to tip. So tip of the head to tip of the tail. And because of tail deformities, it makes sense to use fork length. I'm sure George will chime in on fork length. I'm sure they use fork length all the time. So
George is already asking how many R's char.
Char. You know, George, a good friend of ours who's passed this year, a fisheries researcher, Al Dextrace, used to make char jokes with me all the time and make it in a pirate voice. And we used to always make jokes about char and gar, and like this is, dude, when you're out in the hot sun or the freezing cold in a boat all day, Scottie, measuring thousands of fish, sometimes things don't work well up here. You kind of go into weird places. So
100%. Yeah, total length
only. There you go. So but IGFA is using fork length. So anyways, we'll stop sharing that screen. So there you go.
That is a remarkable fish. Art, big congratulations to you. And I will say this, a big pat on the back. Congratulations to the IGFA for allowing fish to be released and still be considered for records. And I think that is so cool. It's a new trend, because obviously, as we know, it has been a trend where you've had to let them or kill them, unfortunately, in order to get them weighed and measured properly. So I think we're turning the page here, and for the better. I think that's awesome.
And here's some cool stuff about IGFA that I put a link in the chat. I encourage folks to go click on it and do a search. Do a search for your favorite species. And there's so many categories, man. Like, so there's all tackle length, all tackle length fly fishing. And then there's junior category, small fry category, men's category, women's category, tippet size. It's crazy. So all the line class records also have fly fishing line class records. Like, there's actually, if you just really wanted to be, and I think CFNers would love this, because there's so many fish freaks out there that just fish for everything. We're talking like greater red horses and like, oh my gosh, like common carp, whatever, man. And there's so many cool records out there that someone could easily get their name on an IGFA record if they just searched and said, you know what, I could probably go catch a like, let's say it could be like a green sunfish on 20-pound monofilament. That's completely absurd to me. But hey, if there's a category and I want to have a world record in my name, why not? It's cool, I think. I don't think it's bad. I think it's great.
And I can't remember who it was that caught it, but we had a buffalo that was that was caught, and I want to say it was either the first or second year that was considered for a record.
Wasn't that Matt Sivia?
It may have been Matt Sivia. Yeah,
Fish Lures. Remember, he owns. I think it was Matt. I think so.
It could have been Matt. I'm not 100% sure. It escapes me the name, but and it was considered a record. I don't know if it was just for Canada or the province of Ontario, but it was a record nonetheless. And I thought that was
and I think what I like about what IGFA is doing, Scottie, is the fact that, again, you don't have to kill these things, right?
Yes.
You know, and we haven't got beyond this in Ontario yet. And in Ontario, sometimes we're a little like, we're cautiously optimistic all the time, right? So now New York has passed 2 records in the past. That's wrong. New York had the new smallmouth record that was a release on a certified scale. And then there was the one from Ohio, they kept and killed. There was another one.
The lake trout.
Anyway, it was. And so these fish have been released. Like, we're seeing this trend now. And I hope that trend continues, because there's no reason to have to kill these fish, right? So
I forget. I think it's either Montana, Wyoming. Wyoming for some reason comes to mind, but it's a lake trout lake.
I think it was Montana. I think you're right. I think it was Montana.
Yeah. And it was a massive, massive lake trout, but they showed him releasing it. And of course, there was a big debate. Do we consider this an IGFA record because he released the fish?
That's right.
That was the first, I would say, stance that I've seen IGFA take, where they said, no, we'll include it as a record if he took proper measurements and it's he can prove it, which he did.
Yeah.
It was considered as a record. So I think it's awesome. Good for the IGFA for doing so.
Remember backstage we were talking about, Jim said the length record was Canadian, and it was. This new record beats it by 10 centimeters. Like, dude, that much. Like 10 centimeters. Like, that's it. Like, not very much does it beat it by. So, and that was caught like in 1992 from, I think I read the Ottawa River. So, like, it's still, So I sent the list. I actually made a PDF copy of all the muskie records. I sent them to Jim just so he could have a look at it, because I know that he
just chimed in here too about Dave McNair's world record catch and release muskie, which IGFA will not recognize because, as a true sportsman and man who values life and nature, they'll let the fish go. So
again, I remember that. Yep,
we're seeing a new trend. So
we are. Awesome. We are, dude. We are. So that was kind of a cool thing that came across my desk that I sent to you this week. But I got a couple other headlines to talk about, Scottie, if you got a second.
Cool.
Okay, so there's been some banter recently online about water levels in the Great Lakes, and so I thought I'd actually look it up, Scottie, and I'm going to put a link in the chat. And it says it can't be shared. Oh, probably because it's a news broadcast. Stupid. Sorry out there, Facebook fans. So we are in a trend where the water levels are lower, but we're actually still above the long-term average. The water levels have gone down. We're still above the long-term average, but they're predicting that come early next year, if things continue this way, we probably will see some record water level lows, potentially in Lake Erie, but Lake Ontario and Lake Huron seem to be doing okay. And all this comes from lack of rain, dude. Like, just straight up lack of rain. It's been so dry this fall across not just Ontario, but the Great Lakes in general. And we are just not seeing those trends of that water, those fall rains have not come. I know it rained yesterday, And I was out fishing yesterday throughout the whole rain. Like, it started raining when I left the house, and it rained the entire time. And the river never came up, dude. And I actually checked the gauging station. It came up like a few centimeters. That was it. That's because the ground is so dry around it. If the rain falls, hits the ground, it's still soaking in. It's just not getting into the system. It will get into the system once the groundwater levels recharge, but we're not seeing that yet. So now I'm not just saying it's all of Ontario's like that. We've seen more rain up in the sort of that upper part of Georgian Bay and like upper part of Lake Huron. So some of those systems have had more rain, but it's still low. It's still very low, and
So
we're not seeing those things.
Jay, think for a second too, and this is, I got on this. I don't know what made me think of it, but okay, we are starting to see record lows, but are we also not seeing a record spike in population? And we think of the amount of water that's in the Great Lakes, like right now.
Yeah.
But think of all the water in all of the water lines. Think of all of the water treatment plants that are holding water for the sake of treating them so they can send it back. What I'm trying to get at is, can you imagine if we didn't need all of this water that we're pumping into underwater water mains and into our manufacturing plants, how high they actually would be?
And part of this, though, too, Scottie, is to add to that, and I agree with you. I'll add to that is that there's been a lot of so cities, like I'll even use the town of Delhi where we live. In Delhi, we used to take water from Big Creek itself, right? They actually had a reservoir, and water was taken from the reservoir. This is many decades ago. And there was always boil water advisories and stuff, right? Like, we're taking water from the creek that farmers, and there's runoff going into, right? Not the best place. Even though Big Creek is probably one of the healthiest creeks along the North Shore of Lake Erie, it's still not potable water. Regardless, now we're taking groundwater. Everything has gone to, a lot of cities have gone to groundwater. They're digging wells, taking the groundwater. And I don't think we actually understand the true impact of that. And many years ago in a previous job, when I was working, it talked about, Steve found it. Steve's good. The water level link. The thing about the water levels is now we're seeing trends where in the river system, Scottie, and I think from water taking, and I'm not going to talk about like municipal water. I'm talking about the Nestle's of the world, the Decinas of the world. Like, the bottled water industry takes a ton of water, and water, it belongs to the people. Okay. And I don't want to get political. I don't like getting political on this show or ever. Yeah. But I will say that we need to be very aware of some of these water bottling places, and they're taking water from like the Oak Ridges Moraine, the Niagara Escarpment, all these. That's where a lot of these plants are set up, is in prime groundwater areas. And I've seen river systems, especially in the GTA, that the base flows have dropped over time. And I think it's water taking and we don't understand water taking, because what happens so we understand how water moves over land, Scottie, right? We can determine that by topography. Underground, water moves differently. The geologic watersheds are different than what's above, because down below they're impacted by the soil type or the rock type they're moving through. And we don't understand all of that. And years ago, after Walkerton, when Ontario put in the source water protection program, we got some insight into that, all of us. And there's source water reports. And that really opened my eyes. This is like early to mid 2000s when we saw this. And it's incredible, dude, how groundwater moves around and how we don't understand. Sometimes we learn that we understand less than we thought. Does that make sense, Scottie?
100%.
Anyways, so I don't want to talk about that too much more, because we can talk
I concur. And Jay's saying that what I basically said would have no effect. And I don't know, Jay, I don't know. I don't know. I honestly, I just think of the amount of water that we, like you have said, that we're bottling, that we're using for reserves. We're treating, we're pumping into underwater mains and to all the homes, apartments.
Yeah, there is a ton of water in the Great Lakes. I guess and we could separate the lake water from the groundwater. I think of it all as one system, though, right?
Yeah,
So
I agree.
and we shouldn't manipulate it any more than we already are. Maybe that's what I should say, right? So
yeah, agree.
Steve,
Came
you're
across
right. They're selling plastic bottles. They're not selling water. You're correct.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing, and of course, that's a whole nother topic when it comes to garbage and pollution and the amount of plastics that we are now starting to see. And we shared that with Lawrence a couple weeks back, how much plastic are in our Great Lakes, and that's beyond alarming. So that needs to improve. But speaking of plastics and coating them with certain things that brighten them, make them smelly good, and what have you. The better looking Scott Martin from down the south posted this today, and I haven't seen this product, and I'm sure you have, and other bass anglers have seen it. But I just wanted to share it with you because I thought this was really cool.
Pile of bait pop right there. Let's check it out. All right, let's doctor this one up. Gold, which to me, this color can turn into a little bit of a shiner. A little bit goes a long ways, guys. Oh yeah, wow. Look at that now, okay? All that gold flake in there. That's what it looks like on the other side. There's a little bit on there now from my hands. Look at that. Adds just a little gold, quite a bit of gold actually, to this bait. Now, why is that important? Because as this bait is swimming through the water, two things: it looks really good. Number two, the scent is coming off of it. Number three, your sonar is going to pick this bait up a lot better, so it's going to show a better return on your sonar. This stuff is legit, guys, but it does more than just sonar. Again, fish formula, sparkle scales, turning your bait into something really cool, and that stays on there pretty well. A little advice on it is to wipe your bait down. If it's real greasy and oily, you know, sometimes your soft baits are, wipe them off with a towel, then apply the bait pop and let it dry on there for just a little bit. This will stay on here a lot longer than you realize.
Have you heard of this product?
So I have actually, but I've never seen it used, and I'm kind of chuckling to myself because of the glitter. So a younger version of me in 1999, I went to Ireland to play rugby for the University of Ulster on a scholarship. While I was there, I worked at a rave to make money, and I was a bouncer, and I had a bow tie and a white shirt. Okay. And I'd stand there by the dance floor, like making sure all the kids behaved themselves. And it was a full on rave. There was glow sticks and whistles, and there was bubble machines. Oh yeah. And there was glitter, dude. Glitter was everywhere. Like, and people would come up to you and hug you. And I would come home. Like I wore a white shirt, a bow tie, and my bow tie would have like glitter on it from everyone hugging me, because they were all so happy and on whatever fun chemicals they were on. So yeah, that's the glitter reminds me of. That stuff would get everywhere. But it makes sense. Like if you handle shiners, like emerald shiners, like their scales flake off just looking at them, right? Gizzard shatter the same way. So it makes sense. I don't know what the glitter is made out of. It looks messy, and I don't want to get political on that, but I think that you're seeing more and more products like this, where it's more of like a paste where it kind of goes on the lures and sticks on. And there's a few companies out there that have been doing that for a while. But I think that you're seeing a trend going this way. I think a little goes a long way. Even the powders, you know, I watched a great podcast recently, or listened to a great podcast where they interviewed Taku Ito from the Elites, and he was talking about his Japanese like shad powder that he treats his baits with, and he loves it. So yeah, I think we're seeing. And what's funny is that there was like these powder and paste were common back in the 80s and early 90s, and we got away from it, and now we're going back to it. And I say that because
of forward-facing sonar that we're going back to it, Jay. Is that
I don't know? It might be. There's a definite trend going in the industry. Like a good friend of ours and a good friend of the show, Brent Bocek, put up a picture tonight of a map that his grandfather his dad had in the tackle box of Long Point area. It's cool, like a hand-drawn map prior to GPS. But he's holding it down, the map. He's like got it on the corner, holding it down with this can of Berkeley shad powder, and it used to come in like a little shaker, like a salt shaker.
Right. Yeah.
And you would get your lure wet, and then you'd shake it on the lure, and it would stick, and there was sparkle in it. And I saw that Berkeley's coming out with a version like that's going to be like gulp flavored, like so taking their gulp formula and making it into a powder. And I was thinking, you guys already did that, like back in like which I don't care if they're bringing it back. I'll use it because you basically take a wet lure and you dip it in the powder, or you can pre-powder your baits. And Bocek put that on his Facebook page tonight, and I was having a good, like, not a chuckle, but like a friendly, like a good memory, because my grandfather and I had those little cans of Berkeley powder in our tackle boxes, right? So
cool stuff. Well, as I said, it's really neat to see some newer stuff that's being brought out. And one thing that caught my eye too was the new unit from Lawrence that has that live scope feature on it. I think it's the i9. I think
it's the new Eagle Eye.
Eagle 9,
yeah.
Right? Eagle 9. Under $1,000 American has that live.
Yeah, I've seen him. $1,300 Canadian. Tackle Depot has got him in this week, and yeah, dude, like you. So it doesn't have side imaging.
Yeah,
but it has a scaled back version of active target. So active target is the Lawrence version of forward facing sonar. And so it doesn't quite have as many channels, I'll say it. Okay. So the image is not as quite as good as active target, but it's still darn good. Like we're talking like, if we use like for ice fishing, maybe you have different sonar units. And as you go from cheap to expensive, just the number of pixels gets better. Like, so the pixel count's a little bit lower, but it still works well. But you also get Lawrence CMAP with it, and you get regular 2D sonar, and you get their down imaging version, everything but side imaging. So it's like, that's a damn good unit for $1,300 and no extra box, dude. Like, you know how you're seeing all these setups where you have to run everything to a hub. This is plug and play. And for $1,300, it's a great product. I'm really impressed with it. Really impressed with it.
So I fished with Danny Bacon on the weekend, and he has, of course, it has that screen, and the screen doesn't affect those who have polarized sunglasses. You still see it clear as day. Even in bright sunlight, you still see it clear as day. And I forget what the screen, if it's IPS or what they call the screen, but it's a special type of screen that doesn't allow for that kind of distraction from sun or your polarized sunglasses. It's vivid. Again, I'm not here to compare one or the other, and we're certainly not sponsored by either one of them, but I thought for those who are looking for that active or that live ability during ice fishing, because hard water is just coming up and they don't want to spend the kind of money that unfortunately we have to spend to get some of these units, this is a great it's a great option. And to me, it's for those who have kayaks and are looking for a reasonable type of unit that has this live feature, I think
when I think about, the only thing I would do with that unit is I'd probably run a dedicated battery to it, just because it probably uses a lot of power. But you don't need, I'm gonna guess though, you don't need like a big 50 amp battery, like probably a 20 amp hour, which is what I used to run my unit now is a Garmin 9-inch EchoMap, and I use a 20 amp hour, and I can run that thing. Well, it runs for 20 hours because it draws about 1 amp per hour. So I can run it for 2 days, Scotty, like maybe not 2 Trevor days, two Jason days I can run it for. Not 2 Trevor days are longer than mine because he'll run out of juice. but you can charge it at night. But anyways, you might want to run a second 20 amp hour battery. But Steve, the transducer is included, dude. It's if everyone goes go onto Michael Iconelli's Instagram or Facebook, and he actually has an unboxing. Steve, he opens it up, and shows you what's in the box, and it's ready to rock, man. So I highly recommend it, and I think it's going to be very popular. And I think the other companies better pay attention. Like the arms race was going high end, right?
Yeah.
And we talked about on this show, we knew eventually they would have to start taking forward-facing sonar onto a more affordable unit, and that's what we're seeing. So
And I was actually surprised because it was that Iconelli post that intrigued me. And I'm thinking, okay, well, it seems to tick a lot of boxes, and he doesn't really. It cuts off at the end, just as he's about to say it has down imaging, and then the video cuts out because it's too long. So I went on YouTube and I started Googling it, and there are some great videos that are put together from some people that really know electronics. And I will say this: do yourself a favor, if it is something that you want, if the live is important to you. And you don't have a unit right now, and you don't want to spend the kind of money that is required to get one of these, I highly recommend looking into it, because yes, you don't get the full beam that you do with a typical live sonar, and even their active target, I think their cone is 130 degrees. It's not the same. So yes. And the other thing, to your point, that they did mention, for a unit like this, it does consume a lot of power. So it is a good good bit of advice that you gave folks to make sure you have a dedicated battery, because it does draw.
But I think because of its setup, I think it could be easily used, and there's so many. It could be used for ice fishing because there's already so many aftermarket kits you can buy for, like, so it's a 9-inch screen. So I'm sure you could buy a 9-inch kit. Like, I'm sure. I'm sure the Garmin has a. I know Garmin has a 9-inch. Ice fishing, what I want to say, like bundle, but no unit. You can just buy the bundle and build it yourself, right? So you could just use one of those instead of buying the Garmin. And no offense to Garmin, great product, guys, but and I'm not sponsored by any electronic companies. I do like to support Radio World because they support so much of what I do and what the fishing industry does in Ontario. But guess what? Radio World sells all that stuff. Humminbird, Lawrence. It's like, what do you want? That's what they have. And I highly recommend checking out Radio World. But Tackle Depot, their electronics has really taken off, their sales of electronics. So highly recommend checking them out. So
100%. And again, apples and oranges, it is live. There are two different companies, Lawrence, Humminbird, and of course Garmin. I did get to see the active target this weekend with Danny. And I will have to say it looked awesome, it worked. I mean, you will find out on Wednesday how well it worked. But I will say we are really excited, and I just discussed this with you before going live about the tournament that we're going to be running in September. I got a first taste of what the Spanish area holds when it comes to species of fish, especially walleye. And all I can say is, anybody that fishes that area, I understand why you do. It is a remarkable fishery. Wouldn't want to compare it to other fisheries just to I don't want to go down that path, but I will say, if you like fishing Lake Erie, you like fishing Bay of Quinte, you're going to love the Spanish.
Well, and you know what's cool about that too is that if you want to DIY a trip, and I've said this to a few folks, that North Channel, we're basically, you're talking from the French River to Sault Ste. Marie, right? Easy to get to. You could take your boat if you want, right? And as big a boat as you have. But there's lots of big lakes and small lakes. So what size boat you have doesn't matter. There's a lake along there for you. Easy to get to. A lot of drive to destinations. If you want to fish big water, you can go south towards the North Channel of Georgian Bay, or there's a ton of lakes just north of the Trans-Canada there. And all those communities, Espanola, Blind River, Spanish, all the way along there, all great places to visit and great people up there. So,
you know what it reminds me of, Jay? Now that I think of it, it reminds me of the intercoastal waterway of Florida. That North Channel is a buffer to the elements, and one of the things that we were discussing is what happens on a wind day. Like, how bad does the wind get up here? And then when you get out on the water and you see how vast of a system it is, you also see how sheltered it is as well. And that's a beautiful thing I love about it.
There's so many islands. It's a whole maze of islands up there. I probably recommend bringing a GPS and having keep your maps updated if you're going to go out there. But it is. There's always somewhere to fish up there that's sheltered, right? I remember. I can remember. Bob did a show. Bob Azumi did a show up there.
Yes.
Casting for brook trout and rainbow trout up around the islands in there. It was a pretty cool show. It's a very, very cool place. So
Yeah.
Oh, George is trying to chase us away again. Too far for us Southern anglers. Now, yeah, there you go. Too expensive, poor lodging. Thanks, George. I didn't realize that George was the tourism director for Northern Ontario.
I just want to know: is he wearing a white shirt and a bow tie right about now?
Is he moonlighting for? Is he moonlighting, and from his daytime fisheries research job, and he's moonlighting as tourism director?
Counselor of the North.
Yeah. George did mention his comments earlier. We should address the elephant in the room, dude. What's going to happen with ice fishing this year? And that's a good question.
Well, it is a great question, and I would have to say that we've talked about it at great length. And George, of course, predicts a late start to ice fishing this year. I think we were all on board with what the Farmer's Almanac was saying, that it was going to be this was going to be a winter. I don't know, George. I agree with you 100% that it's going to be a late start. I just don't know how long it's going to be. And with these weather patterns that we're having, I mean, we had a tornado warning I mean, when do you get a tornado warning? Apparently a touchdown in Fergus too.
Yeah, but there was a confirmed tornado in Fergus last night. Yeah. So it's what's been going on is in the Pacific Ocean, and these El Nino, La Nina patterns, right? And this is what drives the climate for most of the globe. And again, all these models are forecasts. They are predictions. It's not exactly what happened until after the fact. But the water is supposed to cool down in this cycle, and it's cooling, but not fast enough. Last winter, they were calling for a colder winter. It never came because the Pacific never cooled down enough. And we're talking just a couple of degrees, but those couple of degrees change the weather system flow, right? And so if you get these warm Pacific, basically, systems, and it pushes the Arctic systems away from us up to the north, whereas a few years ago, we had all these polar vortexes, right? That was during a La Nina where the flows were different, the weather flows. And that's what we're supposed to get, but we're still on the warm end of that cycle. We just can't get rid of that El Nino pattern. And
then you hear of snowstorms that they had just this past week down in Colorado, New Mexico, and the north end of Texas, where they got 4 feet of snow.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I have to agree. Obviously, George, it is going to be a late start to an ice fishing season. My question is, when it does arrive, how long is it going to last?
Yeah, it's true.
That's going to be a $1 million question.
And I do, like, for me, selfishly, like, I'm okay with a January 1st start. Like, that's my favorite. Like, right after Christmas is done, because Christmas is a busy time. I'm realistic. I'm not going to get out much. But January 1st is always a great time to start the new year and go ice fishing. And you can go ice fishing before then if you want. And I've done Quinte trips over the Christmas break. And there's some excellent stocked lake fishing. People don't even realize this. In Ontario, there's so many stocked lakes, and they are all available on the Fish Online site. And stocked lakes, if you check the regulations, majority of stocked lakes where they have stocked splake and brook trout, they don't fall under the seasons. Like, so you can fish for certain stocked lakes have a year-round season on them. So if you want to scratch that ice fishing itch and catch some small pan-sized splake and brook trout, you can do that in December if we get the cold temperatures. So fingers crossed we can scratch that itch, because it's the steelheading isn't coming anytime soon. And dude, we're already getting into the middle of November here, and I don't see any rain in the forecast. Like, no amount of rain that I'm excited to see. If you know what I'm saying, Scottie. A few millimeters.
I was going to ask you, because I saw Trevor posted a pic of a rainbow. What's the run been like down your way?
Dude, it's weak. Like, so I walked like close to 7 kilometers yesterday, and I'll talk about my hiking challenge I'm doing, but like it's a lot of looking. Like, so when you fish these small creeks, we're using polarized, all those Southerns. You need good polarized glasses. You do, because so yesterday I probably saw 30 salmon, and they are looking rough. But because these are cohos, not Chinooks. But I'll tell you that I don't fish for them at all. I don't really feel like fishing for salmon on beds. I'll look at them though, dude. As much as I love catching fish, I love just checking fish out, like standing over a big log jam and looking in and seeing tails and seeing fish move around. That's cool. But the steelhead run is they always come up, dude. They always work their way up, but it's slow. There's just no push of fish. And in fact, Trevor's flipping pizzas. Get to work, Barney. Yeah.
Beautiful trout. I might add, Trevor, that was a beautiful trout you posted.
It was a nice trout. I joke with them. I'm like, yeah, you outfished your old man, but that's for me, that's not a bad thing. And he hates it when I'm like that because it makes him like, oh, Dad, you're being all nice, and I just want to rub it in your face that I caught a nice fish. But he worked for that fish, man. We walked a long way to catch that fish, and it was pretty, I'm pretty proud that at least one of us caught something. So I had a coho on. Well, we're playing with some new tackle. We got some, actually, we're doing a little R&D for Jeff's jigs right now.
Cool.
Scottie. Cool. So we might have some new products to share, and Jeff wants to relaunch them at CanCast. This is happening right now. So yeah, I got to keep things on the down low because the R&D is just starting. But Jeff Penner from Jeff's Jigs has been working with us on some R&D, and I'll tell you, Trevor and Owen, they can catch some sneaky steelhead in sneaky ways that it's pretty cool. That we talk on this all the time on this show about like you, me, and Jim, and about it's always learning, right? Like if we always are learning, and it's so cool when I can learn from a couple of teenagers, couple of Creek kids, and doing stuff that I think I planted the seed, but they're watering the plant. You know what I'm saying? Like, 100%. And it's cool, man. It's cool watching them work and how determined they are. So shout out to those kids, and shout out to Jeff for being like, hey, I want to get in on this too. So we'll obviously jigs are involved, but we'll talk about this later. It's going to be some cool stuff.
I will say I just learned something this evening from this gentleman, the pescator up in Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah.
But the number one bait I'm blown away is a pumpkin seed tube jig.
Yeah. Years ago, man, when I would winter fish, so there was winters. Like I remember the winter of like 2001. I was up at university at Peterborough, and it was really mild winter. And in fact, if you look back through time, it was one of the mildest winters we've ever had. Mm-hmm. And we still had it all winter. And one of my best baits that winter was a tube jig under a float, like drifting a tube jig. And I would outfish guys with roe, and these was kind of before the pink worm days were a thing. So we're talking 20 years ago now.
Okay.
And yeah, man, we smashed them on tube jigs under a float and like frog water, like little 1/16 ounce little tube jigs. And white was good, pink was good, but pumpkin seed. And so I had like a whole little bag of little Berkeley power tubes, all little 1-inch ones. And I would and it was so nice. I loved it because you didn't have to tie roe bags or cure eggs. You just tie on a tube jig. It was awesome. Yeah.
Well, as I said, that's awesome. I just learned something. Not that I've ever really targeted steelhead or rainbows, but I've just learned something of a new presentation that I would never have thought would work for rainbows. So I appreciate that.
Don't be afraid to swim a little jig. Like, so, Scottie, if we went, I relate it to walleye fishing on the Thames in the spring, right? You throw a swim bait out and you just retrieve it with the current. You want that jig bouncing the bottom, but you also want it moving a little bit, right? So you kind of like reel in your slack and you kind of keep it coming towards you, but they want the current to drift it down as it quarters with the current. And steelhead behave the same way. And we don't do this enough. I've using more and more jigs to catch steelhead. And in some places where you have a lot of obstructions, like for casting and big boulders and stuff, I can work a jig around objects that I can't drift afloat. And sometimes there's not enough flow to get your spinner spinning or your quick fish, wagon, and a little jig can do that. But it takes a bit of a trick to it, and different types of jigs work better than others. And so, But that makes sense to use a tube jig, especially in the St. Mary's. But I think a lot of people aren't. They're not. They're like, I wouldn't use a tube jig for a steelhead, but they're just a fish like any other, man. They are.
It makes sense, but at the end of it, I don't think of tube jigs when I think of trout. That's for sure.
Corey, soft plastic beads too. That's something that I love my Randy's candy. I got my box right here actually, and I use a lot of creek candy beads. The weighted ones, I like the glass ones are best for me usually because they got weight to them, and I'm fishing smaller systems. The beads can get down faster. But in really clear water, low water, which we have this fall, the clear beads, those soft plastic beads, they're a great alternative. And I think they're really showing their colors literally right now with this low clear water.
Amen.
Yeah, 100%.
George brings up something, and it actually concerns me because I have actually heard this, that there is, I don't want to say it's been tabled. I don't want to say it's an agenda item, but I have heard this, that ice fishing is going to be, or could potentially be, restricted to the area within you live, your primary residence, and the bait fish management zone that it resides in. I hope doesn't happen, but it's just funny. It's funny it showed up in the comments because I did hear this. And I
think what you'll see first is you'll see a bait ban happen before that happens, because if you start to control people's movements, we went through this recently, Scottie. It was fishing related at times.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that. I think what will happen is you'll see a bait ban before that happens. That's not my professional opinion, that's my personal opinion. So, but and I know George, he also he likes us to stay where we are and leave his fish alone. So
true, but, and I appreciate that as well. At the end, I have heard that this was a concept. I don't know if it was, brought forth on anything that of significance, but I did hear that brought up as an idea or a concept that they were going to. Not a hope in hell. I'm going to stick with that.
Yeah.
Jay, I don't want to. Have you got more you want to?
I got one more thing. I'm gonna.
Let's go. I just don't want to keep you here too long. That's all.
No. So I'm doing a fundraiser. So I can't grow a mustache because it's Movember and I never could do it. So I saw this thing online. It's a 30K hike challenge, and what you do is you can you basically hike 30 kilometers and you raise money for the Canadian Cancer Society. Cool. And many families that I know, in fact, I'm going to say there's probably a family I don't know, unfortunately, has been impacted by cancer. And so I've started this fundraiser. No pressure for anyone. I've had a few CFNers reach out for donations to make a donation. And I'm just doing it for fun. And, I've been on this kind of weight loss thing the last few months. I'm down about 40. I'm over 40 pounds gone now.
You can tell, dude. You can so tell.
Thanks, man. It's not easy. Winter's going to be tough, dude. Winter's going to be tough because it's I'm active in the winter, but not as active in the warmer months. But anyways, I'm steelheading for me is all walking. So I'm just going to, on my Fitbit, I record the hike. There's a hike feature. And when we leave the vehicle, I press hit, I go. And then, it just tracks my movements. And I don't really care how far I walk. I'm going to walk that far anyways. But if I can raise money for cancer while I'm out fishing, so that's what I'm going to do for the rest of the month. It's going to make me get out fishing. Not that I won't go, but it'll make me get out under these horrible low water conditions, Scottie. That's what's going to make me do. So I'm going to, for me, when the conditions aren't great, I'm happy just staying home, to be honest. And there's always things to work on that fishing related, man. I have a basement of fishing shit that if I don't start to organize, there's going to be conversations had.
Yeah.
And
they're already happening at my house.
Senior management is going to really start cracking down on me. Okay. And I'm not senior enough to negotiate. I'll have to just do it. But I think for the month of November, I'm going to just try and do a little walking and keep it going. Give me something to do, man. Just give me something to do in my spare time, and I'll use that in quotations.
That's awesome. So is that the link? Like, can we?
Yeah, you can click on that link.
Yeah,
and it'll take you to the way the fundraiser works. It kind of sets up your own event Facebook page, and you click on that link, and there'll be a donate button. You just click on donate, and you can pay with, I think it's PayPal or credit card or something like that. Cool. So, yeah,
right on.
That's
Corey.
it.
Holy smokes, 150 pounds within 3 months. Good for you, dude. Wow, incredible.
That's awesome. 3 months. Jeez, I've lost my weight. Like I've started. I'll be honest, Scottie, it took me about 3 months to get into a rhythm. Like I was kind of losing it a little bit, and then I kind of got into a rhythm. I've lost the bulk of it since, well, it's taken me 5 months to lose 40 pounds. And that's like, dude, a lot of it's walking. It is. It's exercise. It's just being active and watching my calories. I'm not really watching my carbs. I am watching my protein because I don't want to get too skinny.
Yeah.
But I'm taking a page out of Big Jim. I'm signed up at the gym, dude. I've been going to the gym for 2 weeks now that winter's here. So I didn't do any fishing last fall because I had this thing with my sciatica thing going on. And then ice fishing didn't happen, but also it didn't happen, right? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't have a lot of ice. So I'm like, I can't ever go through that again. I got to go fishing. So that's really why I've done this, is that I was just sitting on the couch all winter, recovering from this nerve pinching. Mm-hmm. That was no fun, dude. No fun. Amen. So, yeah.
Right on, dude. We'll keep up the good work. And of course, we will keep in touch with in regards to the fundraiser. And of course, your journey on all of these jogs and walks and hikes that you're going to be doing. But certainly inspiring, dude. And keep up the great work, because it's working.
Thanks,
dude.
Man.
Really,
and dude, we're going to see you in a couple of weeks. You're going to the ice fishing show, right? It's only 2 weeks.
100%. So, hopefully, we'll get Moose and Andy on here next week to talk about it. But it's coming up real quick.
Yep, we're going up. I'm not sure if we'll go for the whole weekend, but we're definitely going to be there on Saturday. So
right on. We will see each other there.
See you, dude.
Take care, Jay. Thanks for doing this, bud.
Yeah,
peace. All right, that is our show. Thanks so much for all of you for joining in, and of course, all the great comments and just general information that was provided there in the comments. Of course, it is Remembrance Day. It is just about to be over, but in my eyes, it has just begun. And if you're like me, you're going to wear the poppy going forward, because as I said, we can't ever let this be forgotten, and I don't plan to let it happen. So if you want to join me, I invite you to wear it all year round, and we will show our deepest respects and love for all of those who have sacrificed in an unselfish way. And we thank you for it, because, of course, we are enjoying the fruits of your sacrifice each and every day we wake up. So I thank you for that. Outside of that, keep in tuned, keep in touch, and we will be posting all kinds of edits, because I know the edit team has been very, very busy of late, and we look forward to seeing even more content. If you do want an edit made for you, or perhaps somebody in your family or someone you know, please go to our Facebook page and click message, and it will basically prompt you to do whatever has to be done in order to hand over a video or a picture. But also, I invite you to add a little bit of a story so that we have something to add to the post. The story is just as important as the picture, so we really appreciate that. That's all I got, guys. Have yourselves a great week. Enjoy yourself. Stay safe. Wet a line. Enjoy the above zero temperatures while you still can, and take care of yourselves. Love you all. Peace.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end.